Welcome to another episode of Book Rev with Bala on bodgepod.com. As always, I'm your host, Bala Ado, and on this channel, we give book authors the platform to come on the show and in their own words, tell us the message they intend to pass across through their book. Perhaps you're a book author, you want to come on the show. Why not? Drop your message on the comment section. I will get back to you shortly. On today's episode, we'll be reviewing the book, A Beginner's Guide to Property Investing by the Property Diva herself, Ngozi Okafor.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Ngozi.
Hi, good to see you.
I'm trying so hard not to fan out.
Oh, really?
But if I do, please try to understand.
Okay.
So quickly, what inspired you to write the book and the title?
Well, thank you so much, Bella. I wrote the book because my first foray into property, I got scammed. Yes, I bought a piece of land. I didn't realize that the papers were false. And then the next thing I did was try and renovate a place without getting approval from FCDA, so I got shut down. And I just took to Instagram and started writing about this. And my friends thought it was hilarious. And they said, please make this a book. And I decided that if I finished telling the stories of everything that's happened to me in property and there was enough content, I would make it a book. And by the end, I pulled it together, sent it to an editor. They said, yes, you have a manuscript, we can do this. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So why invest in property? Why not in stock or cryptocurrency or other forms of investment?
Well, I think property is one of the ways that you can invest. I'm not saying that people need to invest solely in property alone. But the reason I personally prefer property is because in stocks and bonds, etc., you're buying shares in a company that already exists, right? So you put your money in there and you hope that the decision makers in the company do the best job for the company, in which case your shares appreciate. But with property, you have a lot more control because after I've bought shares, there's nothing more I can do. If the company doesn't do well, I've lost my money. But with property, if you purchase something and it's not going well, you can convert it into, maybe you can split it. If it's a big house, you can split it into flats. Or if it's residential, you could split it into commercial. Exactly. So there's so many things you could do to change the use of the space to make sure that you make money from it. So that's why I like it better.
What's your take on the current property market in Nigeria?
So the current property market is a little bit mixed. Obviously, we've got Lagos. That's kind of an outlier because we have a lot of expensive property. We're talking billions of naira in Lagos, right? And then you have other states that are a lot more quiet, 10 million, 50 million, 100 million. So it's a very mixed bag. I think it's a beautiful time for people to get involved and to invest in property. But I would say that you need to make sure that you're looking at the deal very, very carefully. Because when people are buying property and people are selling it, you could get confused and want to jump on the bandwagon.
Exactly.
But if you do that, you might actually purchase something that's not a good deal. So the current market is vast, and it requires people to do a lot of research before they jump in.
Okay. So what about, in your own view, where are the current best markets globally to invest?
Well, that's a good question. So when we look at the globe, we look at the Middle East and there's Dubai and stuff like that. In fact, actually, Saudi Arabia is actually a very big location right now.
Yes. I thought it's gradually opening up.
Absolutely. But the challenge with that is, when you're not a citizen, it might not be so easy to invest. The US is also another beautiful market. You've got expensive parts of it, the California, New York, but you have other places like West Virginia that have really good deals that are affordable for people and have the prospect of growing. Obviously, the UK is fantastic, but when people think about the UK, they only look at London. But there are places outside of London, in the north of England, where you can purchase a small apartment for maybe £50,000 and then rent it out and get some good return on investment. And then obviously Nigeria, everywhere in the world, there's no one best place. It depends on what your goals are and how much you have access to and which countries you have access to.
Wow. So as a beginner in property investment, what are the do's and don'ts?
I think the thing that I would say the most is don't underestimate the power of research. People kind of just jump into deals, but if you do some research, you'll find that there's some amazing deals out there that you could get, and then how you're going to use the property afterwards. Right now, our property market is still a little bit in its infancy, so people only think about construction and selling or construction and renting it out. But there's so many ways to use property, and if people did some more research, they could make money. In terms of don'ts, I would say don't buy it just to jump on the bandwagon. One of the biggest, advice I've ever heard about property is that in property, you make money when you buy, not when you sell. So I'd say don't buy hoping that it will appreciate in future. Buy something that's a fantastic deal today.
So in Nigeria, how can you tell me what's the best form of getting funds to invest in property?
Okay. So access to finance is one of the biggest issues for people who are young and just getting into the property business. Now, if you are employed anywhere, right, and it's a PLC or a government agency, a large company, they would be making contributions on your behalf, right? And that's into the National Housing Fund, which is managed by the Federal Mortgage Bank, right? So if you're making contributions, and I think if you've been making contributions for over 6 months, you're able to get a mortgage from the Federal Mortgage Bank. So what you could do is speak to someone in HR to make sure that you're contributing. If you're not, you can actually open an account as an individual and contribute to the National Housing Fund, which is beneficial for people who own their own businesses. So you make those contributions, and then after 6 months, you're able to apply for a mortgage of up to 16 million naira, right? At a very low interest rate, about 5 to 6% interest, which is the lowest interest rate you'll get in anything in Nigeria, right? So if you're employed and you're putting some money aside, and then you have access to this mortgage, that would be a first step in getting a mortgage to own your own property. The beautiful thing about the housing fund is that because they spread the mortgage out over, what they do is 60 minus your current age, right? So if you're currently 35 and they do 60 minus 35, you've got 25 years to pay off that. And if you think about it, 25 years to pay off 16 million, you're paying less than 1 million a year. So for less than 1 million a year, you get to own the house that you live in through the National Housing Fund. So that's one thing that I advise people to find out if they have an account with the Federal Mortgage Bank. If they don't, they should open one and start making contributions. And then after 6 months, they can apply. The other thing is, if you don't even have any money at all, the very good thing that you could do is become an agent. And right now, it's kind of very easy to become an agent. You see places that are advertised. You can contact the principal agents on the property and ask if you can also market it on their behalf. So if you belong to a church where you have a group, or a mosque, anywhere you have a group of people that you have influence over, you can actually market to them. And once you start to make commission, you build up your commission to the point that you can get enough money
to access and buy your own.
That's it.
Thank you, Ngozi. Your final thoughts, and how can we get a copy of your book?
So in terms of where to pick up the book, I have social media, and it's at propertydiva.ng, and that's on Instagram and on TikTok. So anyone who contacts me on those platforms, I'm able to tell you how to get a digital copy, because the physical is sold out. Thank you. So we've run out of physical copies, but they're digital copies that people can order via my social media, and they can have immediate access to the book. In terms of my final thoughts, I would say property is not like crypto, and it's not like buying stocks and shares. So I want people to not have this hurry mentality about property, because if you rush into it, you can lose quite a lot of money by buying the wrong deal. So I would say be patient. Do your research. There's nothing that will substitute research. A lot of people contact me online and they say, tell me where to buy, tell me. But there's so many questions I need to ask. How much do you have? What areas are you interested in? What do you want to do with the property afterwards? But they're relying on a third party to just tell them, oh, go and purchase in Kado, or go and purchase. But that's not good advice, because it might not suit what your needs are. The final thought I have to share is, please make sure you do your research. Research the location, find out what you want to use the property for, make sure that what you're buying already has some equity in it, so that you're not buying a property at the top of the market, the price at the top of the market. And then make sure that you're buying something that can evolve over time. So if you purchase something and you want to rent it out, make sure that where you're purchasing makes it easy for renters to rent from you. A lot of times people get emotional about buying property, and they buy something they would want to live in. But sometimes that's challenging, because you overdevelop the place, and then when you want to sell it, nobody wants to pay that price, because they're not the ones who asked you to ship in Italian marble or stuff like that in the area that you live in. So you've got to do your research about your current need and the future purpose of that property. Take your time. no matter what, you're still going to get a good investment. No matter what, you're still going to make money. So if you don't make it today, you'll make it tomorrow, next week, next year. There's no rush. And that would be my final words.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You've heard it all from our Property Diva. I'll look forward to having you in our next episode. Thank you and bye.
Bye.